This sweet sighting marks Ashton and Mila's first debut as a family. The pair, who've been married since 2015, have been notoriously private when it comes to their kids.
Hollywood actors that live like they are poor might seem like a contradiction. Despite earning millions, some of the biggest names in entertainment choose surprisingly modest lifestyles. Well, get ready, because this one will blow your mind. Imagine Hollywood stars, people with mansions, private jets, and bank accounts that don't even know what low balance means, choosing to live like they're broke. Why do they do it? What are they running from or protecting? Stick with me till the very end, because the reasons behind their choices will absolutely floor you. Come along. Number 9. Jennifer Lawrence. People often talk about Jennifer Lawrence as if she is only the Oscar-winning megastar who dominates red carpets and headlines, but those who know her story well say the truth behind her lifestyle is far quieter, far simpler, and far more grounded than anyone might expect from someone at her level of fame. They often point out that even after Forbes named her the highest-paid actress in the world in 2015, with an astonishing $52 million earned in that single year alone, she still lived in a way that felt almost ordinary. Some people close to her wondered how someone with such global success could remain so unaffected by the pull of extravagance that surrounds Hollywood. And yet, they would always say the same thing. Jennifer Lawrence simply never cared much for the flashy side of fame. They said she preferred thrift stores over designer boutiques, that she saw no reason to spend money just because she had it, and that she stayed mindful of what she brought into her life. Why should she change her habits just because her salary skyrocketed? Why should success force her into a lifestyle that never felt like her? Friends explained that throughout her rise, from indie films to worldwide blockbuster fame, she had always leaned toward practical, no-nonsense choices. Reportedly, she would laugh about how people assumed celebrities spent thousands of dollars a week on shopping, when she was just as likely to walk into a secondhand store, pick something comfortable, and go home. They said she never felt the need to keep up with anyone, and she never saw simplicity as a sign of lacking. Instead, she saw it as a conscious choice, one that allowed her to stay connected to the person she had always been. Some wondered if this grounded mindset was why she stayed relatable to so many people, regardless of how massive her fame became. Others said it was simply who she was, someone who never felt that pressure to impress anyone with her wallet. But perhaps the most striking example of her down-to-earth lifestyle was the place she called home for so many years. While most A-list stars were out buying sprawling estates with infinity pools, movie theaters, and walls of glass overlooking the city, Jennifer Lawrence quietly lived in a small 1,413-square-foot condo in Santa Monica, a two-bedroom townhouse she had purchased back in 2006 for $879,000, long before the Hunger Games turned her into one of the most recognizable faces on the planet.
I need to get out of here. You need to get out of here.
No.
Go find Mom.
No.
Go find Mom right now.
No.
I'm so sorry.
No.
Go find Mom.
People who visited her said the condo was cozy, simple, warm, and incredibly unpretentious. Hardwood floors, bright lighting, a home that felt lived in rather than curated. There was nothing extravagant about it, nothing designed to show the world she had erased. What puzzled many was that she stayed there even after winning major awards, even after her paychecks soared into the millions. Why didn't she upgrade sooner? Why didn't she trade the modest townhouse for a place more fitting for Hollywood royalty? The answer, according to those around her, was easy. She didn't feel the need. She remained in that same modest home until 2014, and even when she eventually sold it in 2016 for $1.17 million. The profit was mild compared to her fame. It was a choice that many said revealed far more about her character than any public interview ever could. Hollywood is known for excess, but some stars quietly reject it. These 9 actors live simply, almost like regular people. Keep watching till the end. What they do with their money will shock you. Number 8. Keanu Reeves. Among Hollywood's biggest stars, Keanu Reeves has always been described as the one person who seems almost untouched by fame. And people often wondered how someone with a net worth of around $360 million could still live with such calm humility. Friends and fans alike said he had always chosen simplicity over extravagance, even though he could easily afford anything he wanted, and they often joked that he behaved more like a gentle neighbor than an international superstar. They recalled how he regularly took public transportation instead of relying on luxury cars or private drivers, and many described how surprising it felt to see him sitting quietly on the subway in New York, blending in with everyone else as if cameras had never followed him for decades. Witnesses talked about a famous moment when he offered his seat to a passenger carrying a large bag, and they said he had done it the way a polite stranger would, without any expectation of recognition. The clip, which spread across the internet and gathered more than 38 million views, became a symbol of how naturally considerate he was. People pointed out that he often chatted casually with fellow passengers and seemed genuinely interested in others, raising the question, how many celebrities with his level of fame would ever choose such an ordinary way of moving through the world? Even his living arrangements reflected a quiet, grounded approach to wealth. Despite earning blockbuster-level salaries for years, he didn't buy his first home until he was almost 40, finally settling into a two-bedroom house in the Hollywood Hills in 2003. The property, purchased for around $5 million and now worth roughly $8.7 million, included a 3-car garage, a modest swimming pool, and a barbecue area. Comfortable but far from the palatial mansions most celebrities of his stature preferred. People close to him explained that he lived there with his partner, Alexandra Grant, choosing a simple environment over the extravagant compounds favored by many in Los Angeles. Observers often asked why someone of his wealth chose such a modest residence when he could easily buy something far more luxurious. But those who knew him said the answer was obvious. He valued peace, privacy, and genuine relationships more than material luxury. Number 7. Christian Bale. Christian Bale, the man who played billionaire Bruce Wayne in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Bruce, help me out here. Huh?
Well, guy dresses up like a bat clearly has issues.
Lives a life that is almost the complete opposite of the lavish world his on-screen character inhabits. And people close to him often say that the contrast is so sharp it almost feels unbelievable. They explained that even though Bale is estimated to be worth around $120 million, he prefers a lifestyle that many would describe as surprisingly low-key for someone so deeply rooted in Hollywood. Friends have said he genuinely seems to enjoy simplicity, and they often ask how someone who portrayed one of the richest fictional men in cinema can be so attached to ordinary, everyday routines. Bale's lifestyle choices begin with perhaps the most symbolic detail of all, his truck. For more than 20 years, he has driven the exact same vehicle, a 2003 Toyota Tacoma TRD Pre-Runner V6 pickup truck. A truck that he didn't even buy new, but purchased second-hand and kept as his daily driver ever since. People close to him reported that whenever journalists ask why he still drives something that most celebrities would consider outdated, Bale simply shrugs and gives an answer that sounds almost too humble to belong to someone who once wore Batman's cape. He tells them it is practical, it is helpful, and it suits his life. According to him, his friends always need help moving things, and he often needs to pick up materials or transport his motorcycles, so a pickup truck simply makes sense. And really, isn't it interesting how someone with his level of fame and resources prefers usefulness over glamour? Observers have said Bale's attitude toward possessions is one of the most refreshing things about him. He has mentioned more than once that he doesn't care if the truck gets scratched and that nobody ever tries to steal it, because nobody thinks there's anything valuable inside. What kind of multimillionaire talks like that? Apparently, one who genuinely values utility over status symbols. His longtime friend Matt Damon has even joked that if Bale ever let go of that truck, it would feel like he was giving up on his dreams. And Bale has responded by saying that the pickup represents who he is and where he comes from. People who know him well say this is not an act and not an attempt to appear modest for public approval. They say it genuinely reflects the way he sees himself, not as a Hollywood figure, but as a regular person who happens to act for a living. Many fans wonder if staying grounded in this way helps him stay emotionally balanced in an industry where fame often distorts reality. Fame and fortune don't always mean luxury. Some actors live like the average person, and their choices are eye-opening. Don't skip a second, you'll want to see which actor tops our list. Number 6. Lady Gaga. People often imagine that a global superstar like Lady Gaga must be living every single day wrapped in luxury, constantly buying expensive things, and filling her life with all the extravagance that usually comes with fame. But those who have watched her closely say that she has always surprised people by being far more practical than her wild stage image suggests. They often explain that, despite the fame and fortune that followed her 2008 breakthrough, Gaga still holds on to the same everyday habits she grew up with, especially when it comes to money. Friends and fans alike have repeated stories of her walking into grocery stores or regular retail shops and behaving just like anyone else trying to save a little cash. They often point to the moment in December 2012 when she openly expressed her confusion over the way people stared at her simply for using coupons or bargaining in stores. She had tweeted her frustration in a very honest way, asking why people looked at her like she was odd just because she asked for the sale rack. She insisted she was from New York, and in New York, people look for deals. It's simply part of the culture. Observers said that message showed exactly who she was behind the glamour, a person who still wanted value for her money. Financial figures like Suze Orman even commented that Gaga's habits reflected a strong sense of personal discipline, saying that no matter what someone earns, the habit of saving is a sign of stability and self-respect. And really, didn't that raise an interesting question? Why do people assume that fame must erase a person's normal instincts about money? Those close to Gaga often tell another story that captures her down-to-earth lifestyle even more clearly. They recall how, during the early years of her rising success, she continued living in a modest, small apartment instead of rushing into luxury homes like many rising celebrities do. They explained that between 2005 and 2007, while writing what would eventually become her breakthrough album, The Fame, she stayed in a one-bedroom, one-bathroom apartment on Stanton Street in Manhattan's Lower East Side. As her career grew, people noticed that Gaga's spending habits remained surprisingly consistent. Yes, she eventually bought herself a luxurious Malibu home for around $23 million in 2014, and she reportedly invested around $60,000 in koi fish for the property. But even those who talked about her wealth said those purchases were exceptions, not the rule. They explained that, most of the time, Gaga behaved just as she always had, looking for sales when shopping, avoiding unnecessary purchases, and never acting like she needed to flash her wealth to prove anything. Those who know her well often remarked that she seemed to value her money not because she feared losing it, but because she genuinely understood its worth. Number 5. Julia Roberts. People close to Julia Roberts often say that behind the million-dollar smile that made her a global icon, she has always carried the spirit of someone far removed from Hollywood's usual glamour. And they explain that her daily life looks surprisingly simple for a woman whose name has appeared on the highest-paid actress lists for decades. They often point out how she has never been interested in expensive habits or flashy living, even though her success in blockbuster films like Pretty Woman and Erin Brockovich could have easily pulled her into that world.
The tie. Take off the tie. Give me the tie. The tie. He really wants to do this.
He would go crazy about this tie. Really
Who
would.
ordered pizza?
Instead, they describe a woman who prefers thriftiness, sustainability, and family routines over luxury, and who takes genuine pride in living in a way that feels grounded and intentional. People around her say she actually enjoys roaming through second-hand shops, and they have shared stories about how she regularly visits Goodwill and small consignment stores across New Mexico and Arizona, sometimes even driving to Tucson just to spend a weekend looking through racks in search of bargains. One source said she loved the hunt so much that she would walk into a store with the excitement of someone discovering hidden treasure. And they recalled her delight when she returned home waving an item proudly and saying something like, "Look what I got for just $10. Why would a woman worth millions get so much joy from second-hand finds? Those close to her believe it is simply the way she was raised and the way she prefers to live, practical, appreciative, and always conscious of waste. When people talk about her shopping habits, they explain that she buys a lot of children's clothing because she knows how fast kids outgrow everything. But they add that she also buys things for herself and her home, calling them previously owned, gently used, or her favorite word, vintage. Friends often say she sees thrifting not as a financial necessity, but as a joyful routine, a way to live with intention, and a way to avoid unnecessary consumerism. They also say that this same mindset is what led her to start growing her own food, something she once described as part of her dream lifestyle. In an old interview, she had said her idea of a deeply fulfilling life was to be a productive stay-at-home mom and wife, growing her own food, preparing meals from her own garden, composting leftovers, and then continuing the same cycle. Those closest to her frequently emphasize that everything she does ties back to one thing: family. They explain that after working non-stop in Hollywood for nearly 2 decades, she reached a point where she no longer wanted her life to be defined only by her career. According to them, she made the conscious decision to pull back from film work once she had children because she felt a strong calling to be present at home. She once said it was easy to pause her work when her family needed her, and people who know her say she meant that in the most sincere way. She talked about how she felt deep gratitude for the chance to slow down and simply be a mom, and those around her recall that she cherished ordinary days, school runs, bedtimes, family meals, and unhurried weekends. They say she never saw these routines as a sacrifice, but as something she wanted more than red carpets or studio lights. She and her husband, cinematographer Danny Moder, built a life filled with these small rhythms alongside their 3 children, Hazel and Phineas. Friends explain that she always tried to make sure their home felt normal, stable, and open, and they describe how she found joy in making school events, sports schedules, and everyday tasks a priority. Behind the red carpets and flashing cameras, a few stars live with extreme frugality. From thrift stores to minimalistic routines, their lives defy expectations. Stay tuned till the very end. You'll be stunned. Number 4. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. As one of Hollywood's most recognizable power couples, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis have often been described as 2 people who seem far more interested in real life than the glitz that surrounds them, despite having a combined net worth hovering around $275 million. Friends have said they jokingly call themselves the Cuckoos, a nickname that somehow matches their down-to-earth personalities, and people close to them often point out how surprising it is that 2 individuals with such success continue to live with the same practical mindset they had long before fame. They have explained many times that they simply prefer value over unnecessary extravagance. And one of the clearest examples came from Kunis herself, when she appeared on Conan O'Brien's show and told the story of how they chose their wedding rings. She described how her engagement ring was beautiful, of course, but when it came to their wedding bands, she admitted that she refused to spend a small fortune on something so simple. Why, she wondered, would anyone pay thousands of dollars for a thin strip of metal? She recalled telling herself she just wanted the thinnest possible platinum band, only to discover that jewelry stores were charging prices she described as astronomical. That was when she decided to search elsewhere and ended up buying both rings from Etsy. She said her band cost only $90, while Kutcher's cost $100, and she laughed as she explained how refreshing it felt to choose something so simple. Some people found it shocking, considering their wealth, but others said it was a perfect reflection of who they were. Two people who cared more about meaning than status. Their practical approach to money carries into how they raise their two children, Wyatt Isabel and Dimitri Portwood.
Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, the Hollywood couple, and their two kids, 10-year-old daughter Wyatt and 8-year-old son Dimitri.
Kunis once said on an Australian podcast that one of the most important discussions she and Kutcher had long before ever becoming parents was about how to raise children who understood kindness, effort, and humility. Both she and Kutcher often mentioned that they came from pretty solid poverty backgrounds, an experience that taught them to value every dollar and every opportunity. Because of that, they decided early on to teach their kids the same lessons. Kunis explained that the message in their household is very straightforward. Mommy and Daddy may have $1, but you're poor. You are very poor. You have nothing. Some people wondered whether that approach was too blunt, but the couple believed it was the most honest way to help their children stay grounded. Kutcher later clarified in an interview that they do not plan to create trust funds for their kids. He said he would gladly invest in any business his children want to start, as long as they come with a serious business plan and a sense of responsibility. But simply handing them wealth felt wrong to him. It was their way of saying that their children should build something of their own, just as they did. Number 3. Sarah Jessica Parker. Contrary to the glamorous world of Carrie Bradshaw that made her famous, Sarah Jessica Parker has often said her real life looks nothing like the lavish character she played. She explained that much of her practicality came from growing up in a large family of 8 that relied on welfare, and she has never forgotten what it meant to stretch every dollar. People around her have often been surprised to learn that she still clips coupons, something she talks about casually, almost as if it were the most normal thing in the world. She once mentioned that this thrifty habit doesn't stop at the grocery store. It even shaped the way she dressed her son James when he was younger. She admitted in a matter-of-fact tone that she mostly put him in hand-me-downs from older nephews and in clothes saved from her brothers. She said she could barely remember buying anything new for him, except maybe a winter coat here and there. And then there was the image that shocked people the most. Parker walking her children to school in long johns she had owned for 20 years. She told the story with a sense of humor, explaining that she simply didn't see the need to replace something that still worked. It made people wonder, how could someone who plays such a fashion-obsessed icon be so grounded in real life? Beyond her frugality, she also revealed how much home life meant to her. Cooking at home, she said, was the heartbeat of their family. She and her husband, Matthew Broderick, cooked together 5 to 6 nights a week, treating it almost like a ritual. As a mother, Parker also spoke firmly about how important it is to teach her 3 children, James, now 20, and her 14-year-old twins, Tabitha and Marion, what money really means.
Sarah Jessica Parker's kids are heading back to school. Tabitha and Marion, son James Wilkie.
She said more than once that she wants them to understand the work behind every dollar earned. In her view, children should have what they need: books, good food, and experiences that help them grow. But she also believed they should long for things sometimes, because wanting something and working toward it teaches effort and appreciation. She pointed out that coming from a privileged home can make kids feel entitled without realizing it, and she insisted she would not allow that to happen. Number 2. Elijah Wood. People often said that Elijah Wood, the actor forever remembered as Frodo Baggins,
So how is the old rascal? I hear it's going to be a party of special magnificence.
had a way of surprising people with how down-to-earth he really was, and those who followed his life closely explained that his choices proved it more than anything he ever said. Instead of buying oversized mansions or chasing attention with extravagant purchases the way some celebrities do, he chose things that felt meaningful to him, things that reflected who he was rather than who the public expected him to be. They pointed out that one of the clearest examples of this was his decision to settle into a 130-year-old Victorian home in Austin, Texas. a house he purchased for $1.07 million back in 2012. Why would a Hollywood star pick a home built in 1890 instead of a shiny new property with glass walls and futuristic lighting? People who knew him explained that he simply preferred character over spectacle, and he genuinely loved places that carried stories within their walls. The house, with its hand-carved trim, old wood banisters, long-leaf pine floors, and even an original antique doorbell, became a quiet reflection of who he was. They recalled how he made gentle updates over the years, careful renovations that respected the history of the building without freezing it in time. There was no overly floral wallpaper, no attempt to turn the place into a museum. Instead, he mixed in modern touches like marble countertops and bright, open living spaces so the home remained comfortable without losing its Victorian soul. Some people wondered aloud whether this kind of taste was rare in Hollywood, where bigger often seemed to mean better, and they suggested that Wood's choices hinted at someone who valued intention over appearance. According to people who had spoken to him, he often addressed the skepticism he sometimes received for being a celebrity DJ with a simple point. He used vinyl, not digital shortcuts, and to him, that alone showed commitment to the craft. He reportedly said that the moment people saw the turntables and the records, it shut people up, because nothing about the project was for vanity or attention. It was a real expression of something he truly loved, something he actually invested time and knowledge into. And isn't that what made his choices so interesting? This refusal to follow the typical script of fame, choosing instead to build a life filled with small, personal things that mattered to him. People often reflected that Elijah Wood's lifestyle painted the portrait of someone who treated fame as a byproduct rather than a compass. While most celebrities flaunt wealth, these 9 Hollywood actors quietly embrace simplicity. Their surprising habits are proof that fame doesn't equal extravagance. Keep watching. You'll be shocked when we reveal number 1. Number 1. George R.R. Martin. Despite being worth an estimated $65 million, the creator of Game of Thrones reportedly lives in a way that seems almost...
And suddenly the first chapter of Game of Thrones came to me, where they find the dire wolf pups.
...deliberately old-fashioned, proving that literary success does not require modern luxuries. Sources say that Martin writes all of his massive fantasy novels on technology older than many college students, exclusively using WordStar 4.0, a word processor released in 1987, running on a DOS computer completely disconnected from the internet. He reportedly explained that he actually owns 2 computers, one for browsing the internet and the other strictly for writing, the DOS machine. Martin has stated plainly that he likes it because it does exactly what he wants a word processor to do and nothing more. Why rely on something so antiquated when modern systems offer spell check, cloud storage, and endless conveniences? According to him, complete control is more important than automatic assistance. He reportedly said he doesn't want any help and prefers to manage every aspect of capitalization and formatting himself. Observers also note that his personal habits extend beyond writing. Sources confirm that he still drives a decades-old Mazda RX-7, proudly displaying a personalized GRRM license plate. How often do people with $15 million annual earnings choose to maintain a car that is practically approaching antique status? Locals report that the choice aligns with his general preference for simplicity over flashy displays of wealth. Additionally, Martin reportedly owns 2 modest homes on the same street in Santa Fe, New Mexico. One serves as his primary residence, while the other, which he calls the warehouse, houses an extensive collection of books, manuscripts, and collectible figurines, suggesting that even in matters of personal property, he prioritizes function and passion over extravagance. Could these choices reflect a deeper philosophy about creativity, focus, and the value of hands-on engagement with work and life? Observers suggest that Martin's approach, combining extreme literary productivity with deliberately restrained personal habits, demonstrates that success can coexist with simplicity and that the tools used to create worlds need not be the most modern or expensive, as long as they support the writer's vision and workflow. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.